Program Specialist for the Administration for Children and Families in Region 5. Her state assignment is Michigan, and a large part of her work these days involves assessing whether the state is meeting its child welfare performance goals. That is, whether or not the state is keeping children safe from abuse and neglect, finding permanent homes for children in foster care, and ensuring the well-being of the most vulnerable children. To understand performance on these outcome measures, Kate has to sift through and understand a lot of data. And this data is not always in the most useful or intuitive form. For example, every 6 months, the Office of Data Analysis, Research, and Evaluation, that's us, sends a report that looks like this. This report is filled with tables and numbers, 16 pages worth, all in a Word format. And this document is sent as an email attachment along with a number of dense Excel spreadsheets. A shortage of intuitive data tools, combined with Kate's lack of experience with data, leads her to make recommendations to the state based more on anecdotal information and less on the data. For our HHS Ignite project, we set out to test a more intuitive way to present our data, a way that will allow Kate to quickly see trends, areas needing improvement, and to drill down and understand performance on a whole new level. We created our new Tableau data tool using an agile development approach. We relied on biweekly feedback from a steering committee, and the process allowed us to move from a sketch like this to a dashboard like this. Our steering committee helped us determine things like what functionality was most useful to them, how we could improve the layout, and what visuals were most effective. As you can see, now Kate can easily understand outcomes for the nation as a whole, for her state, by county, and even by child characteristics like age and sex. And she can slice and dice this data any way that she wants to answer questions and gain new insights. Equipped with this information, Kate can now make more informed decisions and recommendations. She no longer needs to spend hours juggling spreadsheets, wrestling with raw data, and trying to make her own graphs and tables for tomorrow's meeting. But that's not all. We also worked with our committee on the second part of our project, creating a short, focused training video. Sorry, I have a little video to play for you if it works. This is just a little part of the training video that we put together. The training video walks the user through the data functionality while building on a common scenario that they face in their everyday work with state child welfare agencies. So it not only helps them to understand the new tool itself, but also how they can better understand and use the data. Users can pause the video and replicate what they see on the tool itself. Our evaluation results were loud and clear. The regional office staff said that the tool would be useful in their work, would make it easier to do their job, and would increase their job productivity. The training video helped them to learn Tableau. It was an effective training method, and it was easy for them to use. And the excitement from the staff has really been remarkable. Not only did they say that using this would allow them to drive and integrate data into their everyday work, but they also really enjoyed using the new tool. Our next step is to scale up our project. It would not be an understatement to say that Tableau, the software that we use for our project, has the potential to completely revolutionize the work that we do and the data resources that we make available. Not only will Kate have immediate access to the data that she needs, but so will Kevin, working in the state of New Jersey, and Mark in the Commissioner's office. And because many of our children are served by other programs throughout HHS, we could even give access to other optives, like Mary Wakefield from HRSA and Richard Aragon from ASPE. Using their computer, their laptop, or even their smartphone, they could have access to critical data in real time as they make their way to that last-minute meeting. But we can't do this without more funding and resources. We know our pilot was successful, and the excitement it has generated is beyond anything we could have anticipated. However, the structure that we use for our pilot has limited scope, control, and security, which means that it can't be scaled up in its current form. Scaling up our project requires an investment in server or cloud-based solution This would allow us to publish and share dashboards online with greater transparency, with the back-end data secured, and with control over who has access and what they have access to. 10 seconds. Last slide. In the end, a project like this does not just look pretty from the outside, but it leads to tangible change, like open and accessible data, increased data use and understanding, increased staff productivity and effectiveness. And all these things help people like Kate make better decisions and ultimately improve the outcomes for our nation's most vulnerable children and families.
Yeah, from my perspective, what's interesting is what you just talked about, which is the transfer of the model itself. Again, you're working in one particular area across the department. We work in various different areas. I guess my question would be, and I had a chance to chat with some folks before this, the question I have is, there's the entrepreneurial portion of this, which is, hey, we've got a great idea, and then there's the rubber hits the road, let's get it all done. At SAMHSA, one of the questions is always, you know, the good idea fairy came in, and the question is, what's the internal burden on those folks that weren't a part of the original discussion, so they're not up to speed with respect to all of the thought and work that is going into it, and how does the training take place with them to say, this is a great methodology that we've developed, here's how you could apply it. I mean, if you sent me a PowerPoint chart, I just don't think that would be enough to get our folks to participate.
So you're talking about transferability from sort of like the work that we're doing to somewhere like your agency.
Absolutely. So how have you guys talked about that transferability, what it would take to transfer it into a SAMHSA or a HRSA, not just say, this is a great idea, you should go do that?
We haven't gotten that far. I mean, it's been a very, very packed 6 months of figuring out how we can sort of internally get it off the ground and get it rolling. I think that there is going to be a learning curve for probably any agency, but you continue to learn and lessons learned as, you know, as each new person takes it on. And I think we could definitely sit down and figure out a way that we could make a model and put those sort of instructions and lessons learned together so that another agency looking to do something similar could take those lessons learned when they're trying to implement something similar.
We've got about 20 seconds.
Okay, yeah, quick question. I'm going to capitalize on what Mike just said. Have you given thought to how since the end goal seems to be the development of a data-driven workforce, have you thought about actually how you are going to ensure the usability of this data, the proper utilization of the data, as opposed to simply its availability?
Can you repeat that last part? I didn't catch
Yes. Have you given thought in terms of how to, to ensure the usability, the maximal utility of this data, as opposed to simply making it available? How do you know that users, your end users, are actually going to utilize this for its intended purpose?
I think our users have said that it is way more user-friendly than anything that we've ever used. I mean, I think that is the beauty of using a software like Tableau, is that it's so much more intuitive to the end user. It does take a little bit of back-end work on our part to put it together, but for the end user, it's very intuitive and much more usable. They can quickly see sort of where trends are happening and drill down into that data to use it in their work.